Hello again and welcome back to our course on PowerPoint 2013. In this section we're going to look at animation, a very important feature of PowerPoint and one that can really add to the impact of your presentations. I should warn you that in my experience a lot of people overdo animation, they use it too much, and to a large extent I think it's one of the features of PowerPoint where less is more, as the saying goes. But what we're going to cover in this section is really what animation is, how you set it up, how to use it, and then we'll look at a couple of specific examples in the next section. So in this first section, let's just look at animation in relation to these two shapes that we had in a sample presentation earlier on. At the moment I've got the small red circle selected. Click on the Animations tab. And on the Animations tab I have a number of groups. One of the groups is the Animation group. Now with the Animation group, if I look at this gallery, there's a More drop down in the corner. The available animations are divided into categories, and the one that's in use at the moment is selected. So for the small red circle at the moment, the selected animation is none. The categories are then really basically three. We have entrance animation, emphasis animation, and exit animation. We then also get something called motion paths. I'll come back to motion paths a bit later on. Let's start with the middle one, emphasis. And what I'm going to do is first of all to select the first emphasis animation, which is pulse. Now you're going to have to watch this section quite carefully, but if I select the pulse, you may just have seen the red circle pulse there. If you want to see what an animation looks like, then you can click on the preview button, the left of the ribbon there. And you've just seen the small red circle pulse. Now that's a very simple kind of animation. Now let's select the big blue circle. Again, we'll go into the animations here. We'll use an emphasis animation and we'll try the grow shrink. Now notice that these objects appear to be numbered now with these little rectangles with the numbers in 1 and 2. It's actually the animations that are numbered. But watch what happens now if I do a preview. So just click on preview again, left hand end of the animations tab. And basically I get those two animations in sequence. Now let me add something else. I'm going to click on small red circle again. I'm going to go back into animation again, and this time I'm going to choose one of the entrance animations and I'm going to choose float in. Now watch what happens when I preview. That animation has in effect replaced the previous one. Now on any given slide the set of the animations can be seen in what's called the animation pane, and in the advanced animation group there's a button there that switches on the animation pane. And what the animation pane gives you is a timeline for all of the animations. Now as I'll explain in more detail in just a moment, you have basically two choices when it comes to animation, and they are basically that you can either start an animation using an action, usually click of the mouse or the equivalent, or you can arrange animations on the basis of timing. So for instance you can say that one animation should happen 5 seconds after another. Now if you look on the animation pane, you can see numbered, corresponding to the numbers in the rectangles here, the current animations on this slide. Now let's look at the way that we can control these animations using the animation pane. Let's start with the second one, the one that's currently on big blue. If I click on the drop down, then I can choose first of all on what triggers this animation. I can say start on click, which would cause this to start when I click, But I can also say start with previous or start after previous. Now if I say start after previous, it will become part of the same animation as the first one. So if I click start after previous, I now have one animation that covers both of these objects, and the animation on Big Blue begins after the animation on Small Red Circle. Let's go back into the drop down there for Big Blue, and now I'm going to look at timing. If I click on the timing option there, it brings up a grow shrink dialog. That is the dialog related to the specific animation that I have on Big Blue. It's starting after previous, which is fine, but I can specify here a delay, and the delay I'm going to specify, just to make it more noticeable, is 3 seconds. I can also specify how long the animation should take. In this case the effect is 2 seconds, that's medium length. Supposing I change it to 5 seconds, which is very slow. And I also have the option of specifying a repeat. So with repeat I could say, let's do it twice. So what I've said, I already established that this animation is going to start after the other one, but there will be a 3-second delay before it starts. It will be a very slow animation that will repeat. So let's click on OK and preview that animation now. There's the delay, there's the very slow, and there's the repeat. Now let's preview the whole thing. Bear in mind it's one animation. It has 2 objects involved, Oval 6 that has an entrance animation and Oval 7 that has an emphasis animation. So click on preview, in comes Small Red Circle, 3-second delay, and then twice Big Blue Circle does a grow and shrink. And that's basically how we make up a sort of composite, a more advanced and complex animation. Now, as I'm sure you realise by now, you can build up some pretty complex animations using this approach. I just want to look at one more thing in this section before we move on. If we take Oval 6 Small Red Circle again, let's look at its animation. If I go to the animation pane and click on the drop down and go into Effect Options, I get the Fly In Animation dialog. Now, as we've already seen, you get a different dialog, or rather a different set of options within a dialog, depending on the animation that's selected. And in this case, for instance, in the settings on the Effect tab, direction from the bottom, supposing I wanted to have it come in from the left. I then have options for smooth start, smooth end, bounce end. What about putting a little bounce end on it? Let's just say about 1/3 of a second bounce end. I could add a sound if I wanted to, so I could have it come into the sound of applause. I'm going to leave sound for now. And one of the other options, which is a common option but a pretty good one, animate text. It currently says bring all the text in at once. What about bringing the text in a letter at a time? And delay between letters, let's have a bit of a delay. Let's say a 20% delay, 25% delay between letters. Now when I click on OK, you'll get a preview of that. Don't forget, it's coming in from the left, bounce end, coming in by letter. And there we are, that's that full effect. Now, preview from the beginning again. And then of course I also get the shrink and grow for the Big Blue Circle as well. So I've built up a much more complex animation. Now I'm sure I've completely overdone that.